asking at this point. He wanted Abraham to travel with his son to Moriah, which today is called Jerusalem, and build an altar of stones on one of the mountains. He would then make platform wood on the stones. Then Abraham was asked his Isaac to lie down on the wood. Then he would take a knife and slit Isaac's throat in the same way that the sacrificial lamb was slain. Finally, he would light the wood, burning his Isaac as an offering to God. This is what God told Abraham to do. At that point, the man of faith only has two options. Either you obey or you don't. If you stop to argue, that in itself is a form of disobedience. If you try to talk God out of it, that too is disobedience. If you offer an alternate plan, that is also disobedience. Second thing I want to tell you is Abraham's trust. Faith believes and leaves the how in the hands of Almighty God. At this point, the writer wants us to think about what was at stake. We naturally focus on the unimaginable pain of losing a child. To any parent, that alone would be an unspeakable tragedy. Nothing in the world seems more unbearable than for parents to bury their children. Death of a child is like no other pain you can experience. And in this case, God told Abraham to offer his own son. And Abraham was fully prepared to do it. All right. So prepared, in fact, that Hebrews 11 and 17 actually said that Abraham offered Isaac as a sacrifice. Meaning that when he laid his son on the altar and raised the knife, he fully intended to give him up. But the writer wants us to think of something else. God had already promised to make Abraham the head of a great nation. And through that nation to bring great blessings to the world. What has God promised you? Do you have the faith and trust to believe that God can and will do just what he said he would do? Sometimes we have to get ourselves out of the way and let God work. But we get so caught up in the how he gonna do it. We block the blessings that are about to take place. If we spend too much time trying to figure out how God will take care of us, we are likely to talk ourselves into a corner. You see, Abraham had no idea, none, of what was about to happen. And when he and Isaac started on the 3-day journey to Moriah, there are times in life, many times, when our only job is to take the next step. All right. We aren't called to figure out God's plan. We just need to move. God say go, we go. God say stop, we stop. God say give me your dearest possession, and we offer it to him. Third thing I want to tell you is about Abraham's triumph. Would also be your triumph. Even though the command made no sense from a human point of view, Abraham intended to obey it anyway. He meant to obey God's command to the letter, even though it meant giving up his Isaac. How could a man do such a thing? Because he believed and trusted in God. And for over 2,000 years, Christians have seen in this story in Genesis chapter 22, we see what a man would do for the love of God. But it wasn't until Calvary that we see what God would do for the love of man. Abraham was only asked to sacrifice Isaac. But God actually did sacrifice his only begotten son. When God's hand was raised at Calvary, there was no one to cry out, stop. Do not harm your son. There was no ram in the thicket to offer in his place. So God's hand fell in judgment on his own son. And Jesus died for you and for me. Abraham offered his son. The father offered his son. Isaac carried the wood. Jesus carried the cross. Isaac was laid on the altar. Jesus was nailed to the cross. Abraham was willing to put his son to death. The father willed that his son should die. The ram was offered in the place of Isaac. Christ was offered in the place of sinners. Abraham received his son back figuratively, but Jesus literally rose from the grave. He got up with all power in his hand. He got up so that we may have a right to the tree of life. He got up so when the Lamb's Book of Life is open, my name and your name will be on the road. And when it's all over, the Father will say, servant, 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 well done. What are we supposed to take away from the story of Abraham and Isaac? When I read Genesis chapter 22, I was struck by something God said to Abraham after the great trial was over. The ram sacrificed. Isaac spared. The promise reaffirmed. It comes as part of the happy ending to a very great trial. God commends Abraham by saying, you have not withheld from me your Isaac, your only son. You did not withhold from me, God said. I asked for your most precious possession. I asked you to give me your Isaac, the thing you cherish more than anything, and you gave it to me. Yeah. God bless you. God keep you in our prayer.
Again, we want to thank you for tuning in with us on tonight. Thank you for being a part of our midweek Bible study. God is truly good in all his ways. And we thank him. I want to thank each of you for being here as well, taking out of your schedule to be here on tonight. May the Lord bless you, may he keep you, is our prayer. Evie, that's all, folks.